What's good, YouTube? Masex back with another video. We're continuing the series. We're moving forward to the future. 2012. We're looking at the top 10 recruits. How did their careers shape out after high school? Did they make it to the NFL? If they made it to the NFL, how successful were they? We're going to be taking a look at that. Of course, if you missed the last few videos, we started with 2010, looking at the running backs, moved to 2011, deep ass class, and now we're going to 2012. If you're new to the channel, hit the like and subscribe button. You clearly a football fan. You done told on yourself. You might as well join the family. You heard me? What's good to all my OGs, those that's been there dang near since day one. You know I ain't forgot about y'all, but we're gonna start with the number 1 prospect and work our way to number 10. And as we're going along, think about how many of these guys you remember, and some of them you may actually say, hey, what did happen to him? Hey, we finna get into it now, man. Enough with the intro. Let's get with the first 5-star recruit. And without further ado, let's get to it. All right, we're going to start with the number 1 prospect, 5-star Mario Edwards Jr. out of Denton Ryan High School out there in Texas. Of course, like any 5-star number 1 recruit, had a lot of hype out of high school. Very dominant lineman in the state of Texas at the high school level. He played both ways, and he was most known for his violent hands and explosiveness. He was also named USA Today Defensive Player of the Year. Tape was sick, physically just much more mature and dominant than anybody in front of his face. Signed his commitment to Florida State, and that was a time where Florida State was really racking in those prospects, especially on the defensive end. Even in the last video, there were a few Florida State recruits in the top 10, which made sense with their 2013 national championship led by Jameis Winston. Mario Edwards Jr. was a part of that. He played from 2012 to 2014. He earned all ACC honors. He was a key contributor on that championship team in 2013. He had 28 tackles, 3.5 sacks that year. And it was pretty obvious he was going to be an early draftee. He declared for the draft after his junior year in 2014. And he was drafted 35th overall by the Raiders. Now, Mario Edwards Jr., I'll be honest, his NFL career was rather underwhelming. And you'll see a common theme in all these videos. With a lot of this talent, it was capped and derailed by injuries. He struggled with injuries early, but he did later become a solid rotational interior defensive lineman. All in all, he played for 6 different teams, and he built up a respectable NFL career. He was most known for his ability to stop the run and generate pressures more in sub packages. He had over 200 tackles, over 18 sacks, and stuck around in the NFL. And at the end of the day, he won in life when it comes to that. He definitely was a hit. All right, the number 2 prospect, according to 24/7, coming out of the 2012 class was Dorial Green Beckham, wide receiver out of Hillcrest High School out there in Missouri. This guy, to me, and a lot of other sites, had Dorial Green Beckham as the number 1 recruit. 6'6", 225 pounds is what he was listed out of high school. The Calvin Johnson comparisons at that point were crazy. In 2012, that was when Megatron was at the height of his career. So, I mean, I remember this dude like it was yesterday. Highlight tape was nasty. And he honestly could have played college ball, I think, his senior year of high school, if we being honest. He signed his letter of intent at Missouri in 2012, and he flashed potential pretty early in his career. His sophomore year, he had 12 receiving touchdowns. But his college career at Missouri only lasted 2 years. That was pretty much the high point of his career overall. 2012 and 2013. Green Beckham was dismissed after multiple off-the-field incidents. The man couldn't get out of his own way. And sometimes you ask yourself, like, man, like what is it? Like, are you trying to derail your potential, man? You got this money looking right at you. Remember 2012, long before NIL. But when you have talent and you're 6'6", 230 pounds, and already showed that you can dominate the competition as a 19-year-old true sophomore and get 12 touchdowns, you're going to get another shot. And so Oklahoma gave him another shot, but he was ruled ineligible. So he actually never suited up for Oklahoma. Even with that still, this man was still drafted by the Tennessee Titans in 2015. He was a 2nd round pick. And I was excited because, I mean, I knew the potential that this dude had. If he could just keep his head straight, hopefully he learned his lesson. Had a really good rookie year. Almost 550 receiving yards. He had 4 touchdowns. Next year was traded to the Eagles. I don't know if there was any incidents. I couldn't find any, and I don't remember any off the top of my head in 2015 to why he was traded after showing the flash, but he was traded to the Eagles in 2016. Never really gained traction due to work ethic and inconsistency, which is what I speculate had to have happened in Tennessee for them to give up on him so early. But that was the reputation that he built, and those character concerns followed him his entire career. He was a hothead, had poor work ethic, and that caused a lot of inconsistencies in practice. So he was out of the league in 2017. For his career, 68 catches, 941 yards, 6 touchdowns. I mean, that alone, man, that screams that this dude had all-pro potential as far as his ultimate ceiling. I mean, 6'6", 230, doesn't grow on trees with skill, I should add, and it's just a shame. He was a major bust. Now, from one bust, we're going to go into a hit, and that's Landon Collins, a safety out of Dutchtown High School out of Louisiana. And Landon Collins out of high school, and you don't see too many safeties, even at the high school ranks, ranked this high. He was number 3, 5-star, versatile DB who excelled at safety, excellent in special teams. And if y'all remember, and let me know in the comments below, if y'all remember at the Under Armour game, he was live, he had his family with him. He committed to Alabama on live TV. Bro's from Louisiana, his family, including his mom, good looking lady by the way, but anyways, they bled that LSU blood, and that's one of the first times you saw on live TV where you saw a displeased parent after their son's commitment to a university. It was pretty funny, but he made the bold move and left LSU territory and went to Bama, and it was the right decision. He made a business decision as an 18-year-old. From 2012 to 2014, did what he was supposed to do as a 5-star high school recruit coming into college. Full-time starter by his true junior year, 103 tackles and 3 interceptions his junior year, in which he was an All-American. He was the leader of the Alabama defense during those SEC title runs, national championship title runs. And remember, context, this was like the peak of Alabama prime dominant football, and he was one of the best players on that defense. He was drafted 33rd overall, first pick of the second round by the Giants. And all in all, man, illustrious career, a lot of accolades, 3 Pro Bowls. He even has an All-Pro. He was a box safety, and that's what his play style was known for. Very physical, a film studier, or at least that's what it appeared like to me, because his high Q was crazy. Very impactful. He's played for the Giants, the Redskins, or I should say the Commanders, and then later on in his career he did return back to the Giants as a hybrid role. As of now, over 700 tackles, 12 interceptions, and 11 sacks. This was an obvious hit. For the class of 2012 was Eric Armstead, defensive lineman out of Pleasant Grove High School out there in California. 5-star recruit, of course, signed his letter of intent to Oregon, but his high school career was crazy. He was listed at 6'8", and he was agile as well. He was also a basketball prospect, but obviously the ceiling was most high in football. But he initially committed to USC for both sports before he flipped to Oregon. So that was a fun fact during my research that I found. I didn't know he was a basketball player to that level, to where he possibly would have got a double scholarship. But he was another 3 years and done type of college prospect at Oregon from 2012 to 2014. Not flashy statistically. I was actually a little shocked he only had 4 career sacks at Oregon, but very disruptive. The tape was what it was. Of course, the NFL's smarter to know it's not just about sacks, especially as an interior defensive lineman. He was the anchor of that defense. And remember, 2014, the first year of the college football playoffs, Eric Armstead was the anchor of that defense. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott did tear them apart in the national championship game, but still, he was a good player for sure. Declared after his true junior year, and he was one of the highest rated college prospects in the 2015 draft. He was drafted 17th overall by the 49ers, so he was a day 1 pick. He broke out in 2019. He had 10 sacks, and he helped lead San Francisco to their Super Bowl run. Unfortunately, they lost in that matchup. But at the NFL level, he's always been that defensive end, interior defensive lineman hybrid. Over his career, 30 plus sacks, over 300 tackles. He's still a core defensive leader. My bro was definitely a hit. All right, we got our first tackle of the 2012 class, and that was 5-star recruit DJ Humphreys out of Mallard Creek High School in North Carolina. In high school, DJ Humphreys was named USA Today's All-American. He was an elite technician, dominated the competition, man amongst boys, and he had natural mobility as well, which made sense why he was a 5-star recruit. In the East-West Shrine practices, really stood out. He dominated, signed his letter of intent at Florida, played from 2012 to 2014. Now in college, he did battle a few minor injuries, but he started multiple games at left tackle. He showed the promise, but honestly, he wasn't very dominant. He declared early due to the high ceiling, and also I'm sure the injuries leading up to that point. Him and his team decided most likely he should go ahead and declare while his stock was at his highest, and it made sense, and it was a smart decision because he was a day one pick. In 2015, he was the 24th pick to the Cardinals. All his rookie year, but by his third year, he was the full-time starter, and he was one of the best players on the Cardinals offensive line. He protected Carson Palmer, and then later on, Kyler Murray by 2019. All in all, over 90 career starts, team captain. Nothing flashy with his career, but he's carved out a great career to this point. He's definitely a hit. All right, the number 6 high school recruit from the 2012 class is my favorite defensive prospect from this class, and that's Shaq Thompson, who is a safety at a Grant High School in California. Signed his letter of intent to Washington, but in high school, man, 5-star athlete. He played running back, receiver, safety, and he was actually a baseball star as well. He was drafted out of high school by the Red Sox, and at this time, he was regarded as one of the best all-around athletes in the entire country. At Washington, he was still able to utilize his overall skill set, and he wasn't placed in a box. He played a lot more linebacker. Eventually he was converted to linebacker, but he played safety and running back as well at Washington. His junior year had 81 tackles and interception, 3 defensive touchdowns, and added 456 yards rushing on the ground. With that, Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. That versatility, something you really don't see but every few years with a prospect playing both sides of the ball. No doubt he was a day one pick, drafted 25th overall by the Carolina Panthers in 2015, and pretty much out the gate he made an impact in the NFL. He developed into a very fast, instinctive linebacker with those coverage skills. As I mentioned, he was a safety coming out of high school. He became a vocal leader on and off the field. Still in the NFL today, over 750 tackles, over 12 sacks, 3 interceptions, and he's still writing a story. Shaq Thompson was an obvious hit. Next, the number 7 high school recruit from 2012 was Malcolm Brown, a defensive tackle out of Brenham High School in Texas. And Malcolm Brown out of high school, a 4-star defensive tackle with crazy brute strength, good technique, and he dominated 4A football out there in Texas. Longhorns were definitely in a down year, so they were elated when Malcolm Brown signed his letter of intent there. Had a breakout junior season in 2014. He had 6.5 sacks and 70 tackles. He was a finalist for the Bronco Nagurski Trophy. Declared early as a true junior and was the day one pick. The Patriots drafted him 32nd overall in 2015. He started out the gate as a rookie. He helped the Patriots win 2 Super Bowls. He later played for the Saints and Jaguars. Over 300 tackles, 13.5 sacks. Malcolm Brown was an effective gap stuffer and an early down presence, and he carved out a great career. This is another hit from this class. Moving on to number 8 from the 2012 high school class, and that's Eddie Williams, listed as an athlete at Arnold High School out there in Florida. And I'll be honest, Eddie Williams was the first high school prospect on this list from the last 3 years. 2010, 2011, 2012. I actually had no idea who this dude was. And as I did my research, it was very clear why. But watching this highlight tape on Huddle and on YouTube, I definitely understand why he was the number 8 recruit in the class. Man, this dude was an elite athlete as a wide receiver and as a DB. Coming out of high school where they felt he could have developed into a good linebacker or safety. Now, me personally, I don't know about all that just from his build, but man, the dude's highlight tape in high school was crazy. But man, this dude took a dark turn. So he never got started in college. He was actually involved in a robbery incident during his true freshman year. He signed his letter of intent, and that probably was the happiest moment of him and his family's life. But he never got started. Now, we know Saban wasn't going to play that, but let's be real. That's any college program. He got immediately dismissed. So never declared for the NFL, obviously. never signed with any team. This Eddie Williams is a cautionary tale of off-field derailing elite talent. Sad story. Kind of makes me want to do an individual video on him, but yeah, it makes sense why I had no clue who he was. Now back to what we were doing. At number 9, we got Jonathan Gray, a running back out of Aledo High School in Texas. Jonathan Gray was said to be one of the greatest Texas high school running backs ever. He rushed for over 10,000 yards and over 200 touchdowns. He won 3 straight national titles. And he was seen to be, after signing his letter of intent with Texas, to be one of the next great Texas running backs. Now, I'm gonna assume majority of y'all know who Bijan Robinson was. Jonathan Gray was supposed to be the early mid 2010s version of what Bijan Robinson ended up becoming. And Jonathan Gray flashed early promise. In his true sophomore year, developed even better, almost 1,000 yards on the ground, but he tore his ACL. And I remember this being a college football fan back then, and those were my college years, so I was like very plugged in. He was never the same explosively. Like that zapped his athleticism. And that's pretty much where the bus stopped for Jonathan Gray. Played 4 years at Texas overall, not really impactful, couldn't come back from the Achilles injuries, was undrafted in 2016, no regular season NFL appearances. His career ended quietly despite early fame and early projections. Unfortunately, Jonathan Gray was a miss. He's last on his list, but he's probably first in popularity. Well, he is first in popularity. I'm tripping. That's Stefon Diggs, wide receiver out of high school. Went to Good Counsel High School out there in Maryland. And when you watch his high school tape, first thing that pops in my head was his agility. That route running was crazy. Even at the high school level, he showed a maturity when it came to route running. It wasn't just speed and athleticism. He was an electrifying playmaker. I didn't really know much about Stefon Diggs until his Maryland days, but he was a U.S. Army All-American, and he shocked a lot of people. And I remember learning this years later after he was drafted in the NFL. National powerhouses to stay close to home. Now, from a business decision, probably wasn't the best idea for him, hindsight looking in, but from 2012 to 2014 clearly showed that he was everything that you think of a 4 or 5-star recruit coming out of high school. But he dealt with a lot of injuries out of college, but he still posted almost 2,300 receiving yards, 14 touchdowns, and coming out of college, he was known most for his hands, his route running, and his personality, cockiness. But he brought the confidence to the game out the gate. Because of the injuries, going to Maryland, had horrible quarterback play, let's just keep it a bean. That definitely dropped his stock. He was a day 3 pick, drafted in the 5th round by the Vikings, but he quickly became a star in Minnesota. The first game that I knew Stefon Diggs was here to stay was that Minneapolis Miracle in the 2017 playoffs. Electrifying focus and concentration. You knew that he was going to be here for a long time in the NFL. Posted great all-pro-like numbers with the Vikings. Was traded to the Bills in 2020. Josh Allen going into his 3rd year. You saw the promise with Allen, but you knew he needed a dog, an ex-receiver, and that's what Stefon Diggs was. He became Josh Allen's number 1 out the gate. Still in the NFL now. Had a pretty good season with the Patriots this year. As of this recording, the season's still going on, so I should say he's having a really decent season after coming off a pretty significant injury last year with the Texans. But all in all, he's played for the Vikings, Bills, Texans, and now with the Patriots. Over 9,000 receiving yards, over 60 receiving touchdowns. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler, multiple All-Pro selections, and for the last at least half decade, he's been considered one of the top wide receivers in the NFL. Stefon Diggs, it goes without needing to be said, but he was clearly a hit. All right, there you have it. These were the top high school prospects according to 24/7 Sports from 2012. If you made it this far in the video, I deeply appreciate it. All in all, 7 out of the 10 played regular season in the NFL. 5 of the 10 were actually drafted in the 1st round. Longtime starters in the NFL like Armstead, Collins, Humphreys, and Thompson. Overall, a strong class with both high peaks and very hard falls. So I appreciate y'all watching this video. Definitely, if you haven't already, like the video. If you're new, still watching, don't forget to subscribe. Appreciate y'all. Of course, my OG, shout out to y'all. I'll see y'all in the next video. I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here. And I hope y'all have a good one. It's the best year yet for all of us. But all in all, I'll catch y'all in the next video.